Hi, it's Emma Monroe and you are watching Meet the Franchisor, the place to go to get all your questions answered from the franchise business you may one day own. Today's interview is with Brett Blair, owner of Jim's Pool Care in Australia. With no further ado, let's meet the franchisor. Welcome to your first Google Hangout, Brett.
Hi Emma, how are you?
Good, thank you. Very good. Now, Brett, let's get straight into it and ask the big first question is, who is Jim's Pool Care and what is it that you do?
Okay, well, Jim's Pool Care is part of the Jim's group of franchises. We're a mobile pool shop division. Jim's now has over 30 divisions and over 3,200 franchisees around Australia. In particular, getting down into our division, what we do is we try and provide a one-stop mobile pool shop. So we go on site to people's homes with pools. We provide obviously your regular pool servicing, casual pool servicing, emergency call-outs. But the beauty of our business is we are a mobile pool shop. So we've also supplied the full retail range of pool products, so pool pumps, pool filters, chlorinators, and we're also work very closely with some national pool suppliers and our agents for a lot of the major brands in Australia.
Excellent. Now, Brett, you've been doing this for a while now. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your history?
Yep. So my background, I was in IT and project management for many years, and moved to Queensland. Was commuting into the city, working 50, 60-hour weeks, and lived in the beautiful Bayside suburbs. And I thought there must be something more to life than being stuck in an office. And looked in the paper one weekend for a business, realised that even though I'd been involved with large dollar projects and dealing with lots of staff before, I probably didn't know all the steps in setting up and starting a business. So I thought a franchise system would be good, and I knew Jim's was the largest in Australia. Narrowed it down to Jim's Pool Care, and I was one of the second or third franchisees here in Queensland. So I brought a master franchise, got on the tools, went on the same journey that all my franchisees are going on today in growing a business, and then also selling franchises. And then about 4 years ago, I'm a fairly motivated guy and thought that I'd like to take it to the next level, approached Jim about buying out the division from the current owners and structured a deal, and went ahead and did that about 4 years ago. Back then we had about 30, I think, franchisees, and over the last 4 years we've reinvested a lot of money and time and effort into that, and we're now just hit 70 nationally. So
fantastic! Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
A little bit different to IT.
Yeah. No, there's not as many out there, but look, I loved it. I actually miss it. I'm not on the tools anymore, of course, but I do miss it. So I try and get out in the field occasionally, travel around the country, visit various franchisors and franchisees. But it was a real life change for me, because we were about to have. I was not married that long. We were planning on having a family. Big risk, security of an IT job and good money. But I knew that I wanted to work for myself. I was worth more than wages, and I also wanted flexibility, I guess. So when we had our first child, it was great. I could, have some late starts. Help out, come home early, not too early all the time, because otherwise you get home at that crazy hour. But no, it was good just to have that flexibility in the first few years, and I've enjoyed it ever since. So.
Excellent, excellent. So you've certainly seen the business from all aspects, I can imagine. Now that you are a divisional franchisor, is that what you call it?
Yes, yeah. So Jim's is broken up into divisions. And there's divisional owners or divisional franchisors who work with Jim and the Jim's group. And then under the divisional franchisor structure, you then have master franchisors who might own a city or a state or an area. And then there's the franchisees on the ground.
Excellent. So what do you value yourself, Brett, as a franchisee, in a franchisee?
Yeah, well, there's a range of qualities obviously you're looking for. Obviously motivation's a big thing. So, and motivation's more than you made the phone call to inquire about the franchise. Motivation comes a whole range of aspects, and you do need to be self-motivated in our business. Once you buy a franchise, and probably like a lot of businesses, is that day one when you wake up, you're the boss. You decide what you're going to do that day. We like well-presented people, very personable people, because what we find is the technical skills we can train, but you need to have that customer service or that personality that people warm to,
Yes.
and definitely customer focused, like any business, customer focused. So.
Absolutely. Now, as a franchisor, Brett, what do you bring to the table to offer your franchisees?
Well, that's a big question. Big question. Well, I guess
We don't do little questions in this session, Brett.
yeah. For me, so I guess what I bring is I've been on the journey, so I know what it was like day one. Like the brand really didn't exist here in Queensland, so there was one guy and one pool shop when we come back. And there was 3 or 4 of us had come back to Brisbane, and I realised how hard it was to grow a business. I had this major brand, fresh from pool school, and then I had to go on the journey. So and I believe it was a lot harder back then because it was new and the system was just starting off. But I did the basics. Approached local real estates, knocked on doors, delivered flyers, put ads in papers, did all that sort of thing, and learned what worked, learned what message worked,
Yes.
what caught people's attention. What was the call to action that worked more than other messages we're getting out there. And then building the relationships with suppliers. We were quite small back then, and as we grew, a lot of suppliers become interested in us because we're potentially going to be a large system, and we're proving that so now. So we deal with some very large suppliers. But what I bring to the table is I do all the deals with those guys. I make it easy for franchisees. So I do the national deals with the suppliers. Our franchisees then get a direct account with those suppliers. I reinvest in the business. I'm pretty engaging as well. I love getting feedback about our system through the master franchisors and the franchisees. So every franchisee's got my number. They can call me any time of day. And I do like getting calls from them about how things are going. So.
Excellent. So just talking about the system, Brett, can you go into more detail about how your system supports the franchisees?
Yeah, well, like any franchise system, you've got your initial buying process that you go through, so you definitely need support through that buying process because there's a lot going on, a lot of stress, a lot of checklists to be ticking off. But for me, it's about the support once they finish their training and they're out on the road. So gyms invest heavily in that, and they make sure all their franchisors really support their franchisees in those first few months. Some franchisees just take the ball and run with it, and other franchisees might be calling you a handful of times a day, just, hey, I'm here, what do I do here, how do I do that? So we implement things like regular business reviews, regular team meetings. All franchisors in all gym systems have to, at a minimum, contact their franchisee once a month. They have to hold somewhere between 6 and 8 meetings a year with their franchisees. So, and if you don't do that in the gym system, the franchisor is made non-compliant. So it's a system that's about supporting the franchisee, but likewise, the franchisee does have some responsibility. They've got to tap into that system. They've got to attend the meetings. They've got to return phone calls, and they've got to be compliant. They've got to have a uniform. They've got to have a clean vehicle. They've got to make sure they look after customers. And gyms have a very strict customer service system. So large amounts, tens of thousands of customers are actually surveyed each year out of the gym system. And if you're not compliant, you actually have to fix that problem, and potentially gyms will take it to the point of retraining. So if you're not compliant on multiple fronts, then you'll be sent back to Melbourne, the gym's group head office, and you'll be retrained. Very rare though, because most of the people are switched on people and they're business people, and they understand the benefit of being part of a system that has very high standards. So
absolutely. So moving on from your systems, if we have a look at the reality of a franchisee's day, what does that look like? Yeah,
well, the franchisee's day, as we mentioned earlier, it is up to them, what they do each day. So they book in their work, will do regular customers, they'll do one-off customers, they'll take new leads, so there'll be new leads coming in. So they might have a book day, they might have 6 jobs on, and they'll get a couple of new leads. They need to make decisions and prioritise how they deal with that. The whole time focusing on customer service. A lot of the guys like the they're ticking over the regular pool cleans and what we say, making pool sparkle for our customers. And a lot of guys like the equipment sales, so getting stuck into selling equipment and replacing pumps, filters, chlorinators. Massive shift in the market in the last couple of years, but energy saving devices. So while they cost a little bit more, they're saving customers hundreds of dollars a year on their electricity bill, which is a big issue nationally at the moment. So that's generated a lot of interest in the products we're selling here at Jim's Pool Care. Then at the end of the day, they've got to come home. Potentially follow up any outstanding issues, lock the van and go inside and become a dad or a husband and try and switch off, and then which can be tough in your first few years, defining that line between I'm home and turned off versus work until all hours of the evening. Which actually reminds me, a thing to make that easier over the last couple of years, we've introduced online real-time bookkeeping. So the guys are on site, writing out invoices on site, hitting send, email straight to the customer via the cloud, and when they get home at the end of the day, they're not staying up writing invoices and doing bank recos and all that sort of stuff. So they're able to get home at the end of the day and the bookwork's done. So, which is an exciting.
Has that made a massive impact on sort of the lifestyle aspect of the business?
Definitely. Look, all small businesses, I felt, years ago and networking with a lot of them, everyone drowns in the back end of their business. We all get into business for the front end, and the problem is we drown in the back end. So these new software and a lot of the major players in that accounting software market are doing it, is that ability to real time on your iPad or your phone even, tapping out invoices, reconciling bank accounts. If you're got a bit of downtime for 10 minutes, you have a coffee and chase up some accounts real time when you're in the field. So it's exciting.
That's right.
It's good.
Oh, good. So talking about accounts and numbers, let's get down to your numbers. If we look at the investment bracket that is needed for Jim's Pool Care, can you give us an insight for the audience into that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so our entry price at the moment is $49,000 plus a vehicle. So we packaged it up a few years ago. A lot of times when you're buying a business, it's the business price plus. So what we want to do is we try and be very transparent up front, package it all together, and we call it a business in a box concept. So you have a franchise fee, around $16,000 worth of startup items, training, uniforms, bookkeeping setup, etc., which comes to $49,000, and you're in business. You just have to then get a Jim's Pool Care preferred vehicle, and away you go. You're on the road.
Excellent. Very good. Now, next question about finance is: do you have any financing options that are available for prospective franchisees?
Yeah, well, of course, Jim's does everything. So there is a Jim's finance division.
Of course.
Jim's Finance Professionals, I think they're called, and they're like a lot of the mortgage brokers out there. So they'll take your circumstances on board, go out to the marketplace and try and find you a deal. We encourage a lot of prospective buyers of our franchise system to speak to their bank first, and then we also plug them into our Jim's guy to make sure everything's fairly competitive, because ultimately it's about whether they use Jim's Finance or the local bank. We want to make sure that they're getting the best deal. They're setting up the right loan facility. They're getting the best interest rate. If they're going to buy or lease a vehicle, then we make it easy for them. We'll plug them into some various finance options, but also we get national fleet deals with most of the major brands of vehicles as well. So we're saving people money at the front end where we can, trying to help them. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for giving us an insight into that sector of buying your franchise. Now, let's really look under the hood, Brett, and can you share with us, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing with Jim's Pool Care at the moment, and what are you as a franchisor doing to overcome them?
Okay, challenges. So probably for the pool industry in general at the moment, there's been a big shift to people researching on the internet, and there's also been some major players coming in the online pool equipment space. So it's not just for us, it's for a lot of the players in the pool care industry. How do you deal with that? So a lot of the customers will research on the net, not necessarily going to buy on the net, but then they'll speak to their pool guy. So whether it's a regular pool guy who comes out or the local pool shop, and they'll say, hey, you know, I want this product, but I can find it, you know, $100 cheaper on the net. How do we do this? So we're, you know, implementing some training programs for the franchisees how to talk to customers about that. Also working with suppliers in the marketplace. Some of the major brands in the marketplace have had a massive shift in how they supply some of these internet suppliers. Things around, you know, we're a preferred installer for certain brands of pool equipment, so that if you buy it on the net, then you're not going to get any warranty on it because it needs to be installed by a trained installer. So we're doing things like that with suppliers, and we're also potentially going to be playing a little bit in that space, not discounting pool equipment, but providing more information on the net about the pool equipment we sell, so customers can be researched and informed when they're dealing with our guys at the coalface. But it is a challenge.
I'm sure that's a challenge that's being experienced across all industries, is how to mesh that online and offline experience when you're you started off as an offline business. Yeah,
definitely. And I think you have to embrace it and you have to deal with it. You can't pretend it's not there. And but you know, ultimately we're a service business, so our system is a face-to-face service business. So how do we leverage that service? You know, we want to look after customers and make sure they're getting the best product at a good price, but with great service and support. So that's sort of what we're focusing on.
Absolutely. Very good. Now, last question for you, Brett, is for a prospective franchisee to come to you, how do you see the relationship developing?
Well, funny you mentioned that one, because I did write some notes last night about what I was going to talk to you about. I guess the way I look at it is probably more a in business together relationship. I think some franchise systems, it's a little bit of a big brother thing, and it's almost still that employee-boss relationship, which I don't think works realistically. When someone antes up and invests in a franchise and gets into business for themselves, I think you need to head office obviously need to have strict standards and policies and guidelines, etc. But it needs to be a business partnership. So I've sort of always looked at it. Any time we sell a business, that buyer or that new franchisee is getting into business with the master franchisor in question and with myself. So we need to have that relationship and that understanding. And that works both ways. So we need to invest time and effort into that franchisee to make sure they succeed. But the franchisee also needs to step up to their obligation and say, hey, I am in business and there are some people who want to work with me. What can I give back to the system? So we encourage franchisees to give that feedback when they start. The more experienced guys, we're always asking for feedback for things around conferences, which we have every year, newsletters, hints and tips. We've got a big back-end resource centre now, so it's an online resource centre that every franchisee gets a login to. They can go in there and access templates and forums and anything going on that may affect their business. Links to training videos, etc. But the relationship ultimately is, as I said, one of partnership. And I think if both parties always fall back on that, then it's going to move forward. Not to say it's a perfect system. You're still going to have time to time where you butt heads with each other. The main thing is that both parties always keep an open mind, and once a decision's made, that both parties move on, because it is a long-term thing potentially for most franchisees getting into our system. So we want to make sure we have good, healthy relationships. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brett, for giving us such a great insight into Jim's Pool Care today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me.
Excellent.
Or hang out.
Hanging out. That's right.
Now, I appreciate it, Emma. Thank you very much.
Excellent. So now that this is for our audience, so now that you've met Brett as the franchisor for Jim's Pool Care, if you do have any questions, Brett, where can they go to find out more?
Yep, so they can obviously go to www.jimspoolcare.com.au. They can call our national call centre 131 546. We've got about 35 call centre staff there each day, taking tens of thousands of calls a year, and they will take your call, capture your information, and shoot it through to me or the appropriate person in your state. and we'll call you back promptly, and we'll make a time for a chat or catch up for a coffee.
Fantastic. So once again, thank you so much, Brett, for joining us today. Now, to our audience who have been watching this, did you enjoy this interview? If you did, please contact Brett, and you can find out more information as he just described. And you can also like this video, you can subscribe to our Meet the Franchisor channel, and of course you can share it. Till next time, thank you very much.